And let's pin or spotlight Ruth. Ruth, do you want to spotlight your table or you?
I think you're going to have to, I can pin it, but you can spotlight it on your side because you're running
Okay,
it. There we go.
there you go.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to the Tools and Craft Bench Accessories class. This is going to be fun. And I do want to start and talk about the pen because I had some requests to explain the pen to you. Everyone should have gotten one of these. And I do know there were a few of you, I didn't send enough in the first batch, but there are a few more that Tina has. If you didn't get one, just let her know. And this is a really fun little pen. It has our name on it, but it is a 7-in-1 pen. It does 7 different things. So it writes, and you can screw the little pen down and then screw it back up. It has a level, so you can set it on something and level. They see if things are level, which is kind of handy if you need something real quick. It has a ruler that is inches and another ruler here that I am not 100% sure. I did not measure it and it doesn't say, so I would have to measure that and see if that is supposed to be centimeters or millimeters.
It is.
Is centimeters? Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got your 2 rulers, and then you have a ball stylus here, which you can safely use on your iPads and your phones. And the other really cool thing is you guys might not have seen this because there were not directions.
Oh,
but
wow.
it has a screwdriver.
Oh my
And
goodness.
this little screwdriver actually works pretty nice. So all you do is you pull it out and you stick it back in the top, and it doesn't fall out because it's a little bit magnetic. And then you just use it to use the Phillips side or the standard side. And that is the nice little hidden gem inside this pen that I
That is so
absolutely loved.
I love it.
Yep.
So thank you so much for that gift, by the way. I forgot to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I thought it would be something really fun for you guys.
Yeah, we love all-in-one tools, don't we? We have so
I
many
know.
already. So,
And they're kind of nice to just throw in with your miniature stuff. And if you ever need that little screwdriver or that level, it's really handy. And even just a little ruler. I don't know how many times I'm going to actually throw one in my purse because I don't know how many times I've gone to Michael's and need to measure something. And I've got to walk around and go find a ruler in Michael's to be able to go measure it. So I thought, that might be a good thing to use.
what are these pens called?
These are called a 7-in-1 tool pen.
Oh, okay.
And you can actually find them on Amazon in different places. But if you guys place an order with me and you want another one, just tell me. I'll throw one in.
Okay.
Not a big
Thank
deal.
you.
I got them this year. They were I try to do one thing a year that's a fun promotional thing to try to give back to miniaturists as some fun little gift. And I've done bags in the past and other types of pens, but when I found this one, I thought, oh,
That's
I like
a winner.
that. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Winner.
Absolutely.
So, yep. Okay. Why don't we go ahead and start by talking about the 1-inch versus the 1/4 inch. How many of you tonight are doing 1/4? I've got at least a couple. Okay, I see Marine's hand. Okay, so everything that we do in 1-inch, I'm going to demo everything in 1-inch because you can see it. So you'll need your magnifying glasses if you do the 1/4. Everything we do in 1/4 inch is going to be identical to the 1-inch, except that there's going to be a few little differences in that, like the you'll see on the tools here for the tools accessory kit, these are actually laser cut out of paper. They're not 3D printed. They were too delicate to 3D print. But when you get the paints on them, they look incredible. And it actually builds up the size to them. So they actually look like real little metal tools when you're done. And the nice thing about this way of doing them being this tiny, like the scissors, when we go to do the black around the handle, you can leave the silver the way it is down below. You don't have to paint anything else in silver if you don't want to. So there's just a couple little differences as we go through this that I'll point out in 1/4 inch, but I will demo everything in 1-inch. This is the 1/4 inch of the Craft Bench Accessories kit. You'll see how everything is a lot tinier. You do have a tiny little decal that is going to be in there, and that's going to go on your gin bottle. And this gin bottle, let me explain this. This I started several years ago and did a girls' week with a couple friends of mine. And we go to the same place every year and we just do minis just for us. And it was something I had never done for myself other than, you know, one little thing here, one little thing there. And because I run a business, it's really hard to just sit down and work on my own stuff. And doing this girls' week really facilitated being able to just do something fun for me, which is really important when you run a business, I think, because especially if you run it from home, you always work way harder and longer hours than you probably should because it's harder to set it down and walk away. So we started doing this girls' week, and there was a gin we started drinking, and it's called Uncle Val's. And this is the Uncle Val's gin bottle. It is my favorite. It's my favorite gin and I love it. And I just thought it would be super fun while you're doing your little mini stuff and making all your little mini goodies. You've got your little gin bottle. Maybe you're not a gin fan, but it is your fun little drink you can have while you're doing your minis. Because sometimes I think we all enjoy a nice drink once in a while. So the little label is an Uncle Val's gin label. And that is going to be a decal that will soak in water. And we will use the fingernail polish I sent in the list is going to just be for the glass. If you don't have fingernail polish, that's okay. We can work on using something else, or you could even keep the glass frosted if you want, because it's beautiful the way it is. You really don't have to coat it and make it clear. It is very nice frosted looking. Okay, so we got the fun gin bottle explanation out of the
Ruth,
way.
can I just
Yeah.
ask a question? When you have glasses, like the gin bottle and the glass,
Mhm.
you're saying that if you coat it with clear nail polish, it goes clear? That
Yeah.
frosted look goes away?
Uh-huh. Yep. So let me
Oh.
grab a bottle. That's a lot of what you can easily do. You just go to the store. Any brand of clear fingernail polish will work. These are sometimes called coats, clear coats. And I usually pay down here in the States, maybe $2.99 to $3.99 for a bottle. You can't, I used to be able to get them for about $2. They're a little harder to find at $2, but you can usually get it for $3. And they last a long time. Now you see how liquidy this is? This is the best way to use it, because when you go to paint it on, and I'll demo it here for you. When you go to paint it on, you want it nice and liquidy so it flows nicely, but it will make it clear. So you go and paint the outside. Now, the other option you have with resin-based things is you can coat it in more resin, but you have to harden it, and that will make it clear. So once I do the outside, I'm going to do the inside. The other thing you can do, and you can see how it's starting to make it clear, and you got to be a little bit, isn't that neat?
Yeah.
So it's a really great, easy way to do it. Now, there's other ways you can make things clear by spraying them with like clear acrylic sprays, but sometimes sprays can be a little harder to control. This has just been the best way I've found to do it. But you see the difference?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
but you can also afterwards, if you wanted to match the bottle, you said it was going to be meadow green, right? So you can also do a matching green glass if you wanted.
Absolutely. Now, if you're going to do the alcohol ink on it, I would not recommend using the fingernail polish. It kind of, it will tend to, if you do the alcohol ink first, the fingernail polish will actually take it off because there's a solvent in the fingernail polish.
Do not combine, in other words.
Not usually. It seems like if you did this on there and then you wanted it to be, you know, shiny and pretty, I would probably let it dry and then just paint over it with a gloss varnish, not the fingernail polish. And then you would still get a nice glossy look.
But listen, can we use something like a glossy Mod Podge, or does it have to be the fine acrylic clear look coatings?
I have not tried that, but that is a very good question. And you know what I'd recommend? I would just paint the bottom here and see what it does.
Oh yeah, good idea.
You've got this support here that's all clear. I would just use that to experiment with and see how it looks. But paint both sides of it, because that will determine if you just do one, it's still going to be frosted on one side.
It's interesting that they don't make clear resin for these 3D printers yet. Right?
Well, this is the clear.
Yes, but it's, you know, completely see through like glass. It's interesting that they can't.
When it comes out, when it actually comes out of the printer, that's transparent that I've used.
Yes,
It is clear.
it
But
is
the
clear.
minute you put it into to harden it, to finish it under
Mhm.
the UV light, it
Mm.
then sort of
Mm.
you get that sort of
Changes that.
gauze look. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yep.
yeah.
But if you were to go back and paint this with that resin and then harden it again, it would be smooth and clear.
Oh, really?
I
Okay.
believe so. Yep. And I know this because I haven't done that much because it's a lot harder because you've got to, re-harden everything. But I've fixed little spots once in a while, and every time I've done that and I've gone back and I think the difference is, Tina, when you use the 3D printers that are the resin-based ones, you have to soak them in alcohol to clean it. And that changes it a little bit. I believe that's where that comes in. So when you go back and you paint over it with the resin and then you harden it, it's directly on it. It's never been soaked
Right.
because you've already soaked it and hardened it.
Yeah. What I've been using is a water soluble resin.
Okay.
Transparent resins. Anyway, I'm going to experiment with that and see.
Yep. And I
I just
haven't,
printed a whole series of bottles actually, so I'm going to try it on those and see if they go clear.
yeah. And like I said, try acrylic sprays. I haven't played with them a lot yet because there's not a ton of stuff that I always need clear, but I do know this works awesome in a pinch. And if you're just doing tiny little things, this is great. Because not everyone is going to have access to the resin. You can't give them a liquid bottle of resin. It's not that easy.
But
So
here's
you
an
gotta,
idea though. How about if you could color the clear nail polish? Is there any, have you ever tried with fruit color or something?
I think you
Just-
could. Mhm.
Yeah.
But if you're wanting to use clear or colored things, the alcohol inks are amazing and they work beautifully. So, and I'll show you that now. We'll go ahead and do the gin bottle. And the neat thing about it is they do sometimes seem to come out slightly, what am I trying to say? Smooth,
Forcefully.
kind of glossy looking.
Oh.
They almost do a little bit. So when I use these alcohol inks, I actually have a set of dedicated brushes that I use, and I do not clean them all the time. You can clean them, and if you do, you need to use, you can get like the little bottles of paint thinner and then use alcohol in them and just dump these out. These are great little bottles to at least hold the alcohol that you need to clean them. But this is an alcohol-based ink, so you need alcohol to clean it. It does not clean up with water.
Mhm.
It's very picky about that. But the neat thing about the alcohol inks is you can darken the color by painting more than once. And so we'll probably give this 2 coats of paint. And I'll probably in a second here trim that glass off. In fact, I'm going to do that real quick.
So I noticed that you're not using a cute little paint pad that I also bought from you.
This one?
Is it because it stains on the ink on the silicone?
Yeah, the ink will stain this, but I use the acrylics on this.
Okay.
I love the acrylics. Yep.
Nice to know.
Yep. Let me run and get my flush cutters. Sorry about that. I forgot to grab those. Because I want to show you guys how these work. The flush cutters, when you are dealing with the 3D stuff, are the best possible thing you can use to trim things off your supports. They're flush cutters, if you don't know what they are, the ones I sell look like this. There's all different styles of them, but the thing you have to know is they're completely flat on one side, and then they're V-shaped on this other side. You have to have that flat surface. That flat surface is what you actually use to cut up against the 3D. So you would take and hold whatever it is you're cutting and just use the flat side to just get in there and trim it off. And then you've got your glass totally trimmed away. You can use the a little sanding blade to get the bottom end, and then you can even go back and just touch that up a tiny bit with the fingernail polish. But if you have these guys, even the 1/4-inch glasses, you can trim them off the sprues without breaking them. If you try to use this V-shaped side or you use wire cutters that have V-shape on both sides, it tends to break the 3D a lot more. So I definitely recommend no matter where you get your flush cutters, get a pair of flush cutters. It will make life so much easier on you.
Are they for metal or just for plastic, the ones you have?
They're actually for metal, but you can use them as wire cutters as well, but I would not recommend on hard wire. But
Because
I
it will dent
use,
it. Yeah.
yeah, it will. It's a soft metal that those are made out of. So a hard wire, it would put a little dent, you know, like a little divot in your cutters.
Right.
Yeah.
But for the 3D, I keep those dedicated to the 3D and I absolutely love them and they're wonderful.
Cool.
So this is the gin bottle. I'm going to get a little more ink because this will air dry pretty quickly. So that's why I just use a little bit at a time. And I have these little portion cups. Now, I put them in here and I let them dry in here and then I stack them up and I just get the same one out every time.
Yeah.
You could
Oh,
clean it up, or you could even reconstitute what's dry by adding a dot of alcohol. And then you can get a little more of that ink out.
Mm.
But honestly, this bottle is probably going to last me 25 years. So if you just put another drop in there, you'll be fine. Now, the cool thing that I do know about these little bottles is they're designed, the little ink in here comes up to the top. You can see that little dot up there. That's a bubble of ink. They're designed for the caps to be left off if you want to, and they won't dry out. So I always cap them just because normally I only need a dot or two and then I'm done. But if you're working on stuff, you could leave the cap off for a long time. They're designed to be able to do that.
It's good to know.
Yeah, it's kind of fun because that special lid, you'll notice there's always a little tiny dot of ink in there, keeping it from drying out.
Interesting.
So I've got this pretty dark. I'm going to add a little bit more to get it just a little bit darker because this Uncle Val's gin bottle is pretty dark. And then it will be ready when it dries to put the decal on. And then I can use a different, you could use a black acrylic paint to do the top to make it look like there's a little lid to it. Or the true Uncle Val's bottle has, I think in the photo you can see there's a little bit of kind of a turquoisey shiny top, and that's kind of what it actually has in real life, but it would look beautiful with a little black top as well. So this brush, now that I'm done with it, I'm just going to set it aside and I'm going to let it dry, and I'm not even going to clean it because those brushes, they're fabulous. Once you dip them back in the alcohol ink again, they reconstitutes what was on that brush. So you can clean them out all the time, but there really is no reason. So I like doing things the easy way if we can.
Absolutely.
Now your little kit is going to come with sticky notes. These are actually sticky notes. I love this about this kit. They are all sticky. What I did is I took yellow sticky notes and just cut off the sticky part of it for you. So you can take these and cut these into smaller little pads. Now, you 1/4 inchers that have the 1/4 inch kits, you can probably make 50 million with the amount I gave you in those. So the 1 inch ones, maybe you can get 3 little sticky pads out of them, but they're adorable. The
What
little
are they for?
dollhouse.
What are
It's
they for?
just, the sticky pads are just for fun. You could write little notes on them and then just put them on your little work surface. So when we designed these, it was for a craft bench.
Mm.
I can go get that and show you guys, but it sounded like you guys are making a craft bench, right?
I don't know.
To put all the tools.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we made our craft bench, we have a little pegboard and a little like a little cork board, and we stuck the little stickies on the cork board. Like you made little notes for yourself. So it was really fun. We have the craft bench separate, the accessories, and then the toolkit, because some people wanted 2 or 3 toolkits to be able to fill up their craft benches, you know, whatever you wanted, or more glue bottles. And we sell a lot of these on their own for people that just want to do their own type of craft bench. So it's kind of fun to have the different sets. Go ahead and take your dollhouse. The 1/4 inch one's going to be a lot smaller, and you just need to cut it out of the motherboard. There's little teeny tiny tabs holding it in. We tend to not want big tabs because It's nice to not have to worry about trying to sand them off. In this case, this is supposed to be a dollhouse that you're in the middle of assembling. So it is up to you whether you want them to look nice, you want them to look a little rough, maybe you haven't sanded them yet on your work surface, maybe you want to assemble part of it, and because of that, you do want to sand a tiny bit. Either way, there's not a lot of sand points to have to work with, which is nice. And I'm going to grab some glue here because I'm going to show you how to just put this together. And then when you're putting it in your seam that you want it in, just choose how far you want it to be put together. It does not have to be put together much or at all if you don't want to. So this here is the floor. You've got a side wall here, which is part of the dollhouse. You have this back wall that has the door, which is part of it, that'll go here. And then this here, and in the photo, I did not install it, but this is the second floor. So if you want to put the second floor in, you could easily glue that in first. And I just use a little bit of tacky glue. It's not going to take too much to get it glued together. And I would probably glue your second floor in first on both sides.
My God, I use a lot more glue than you.
I'm very minimal on glue because I do not like to clean it up. And I'm pretty picky. I don't like a lot of glue showing. So I usually just go very minimal.
Mm,
and in this case, that's okay because we really don't need to have a lot keeping it together since it's supposed to be a little display. But I'm going to glue those two pieces together. Now the side here, I could have added some more glue to this side to adhere it. But instead of doing that, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the edges here and that will hold it as well on the base. So I'm going to go all the way around the side. Now you could get really creative and have fun with this and paint it before you assemble it or paint it after you assemble it and
or
actually
wallpaper.
have it. Yep. You could actually make it look like that you're halfway done building it. Okay, so then I glued it to the base here. Now, if you're smart, you've got a nice little gluing jig. I don't usually mess with that in classes because
I see.
I want you to have as much work surface to be able to see. Okay, so let that sit there for a second. But it's pretty good even without the gluing jig holding itself pretty straight because of that second story. And
Yeah, and because the little holes that you made for it, it fits in like a puzzle.
Yep, it just fits right in there. And then this roof piece, if you want to install it, would go like this. And you can put that on top and that would look like half of your roof, kind of like you've got an open floor plan. And like I said, it's just meant to be partially assembled, all the way assembled as much as you want. If you'd like to, it's totally up to you. Like I said, paint it if you want to, it'd be super cute. And I never did put the ceiling on because it was fun to be able to see down into it. The dollhouse plans, this was an adorable idea that my husband did, which I thought was really, really cute. He made this look like your little blueprints. So you can cut these out. They totally match the dollhouse. And you can cut them out and do whatever you want with them and just have fun. And I think I glued these floors backwards. Yeah, I think I might have, guys.
What do you mean by backwards?
I think maybe I didn't. No, maybe I did. Well, you can choose. This floor that comes out farther may have been the one that was meant to be on the bottom. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So then the shorter floor should have been up here. I do apologize. It's been a couple years.
Well, thanks for making the mistake for us.
Ruth, I think it's very realistic to have it put together upside down. It looks like more like my
great. Then I'm happy with that. Yep, we'll go with that. That's the way, guys. That's the way it should be. So anyway, these little floor pans are so cute and you can just use them, you know, stick them in little drawers of your cabinet, pin them to a little cork board, and you just cut around them. That's really easy. Okay. Why don't we talk about the little tiny glue bottles? Do we want to do that next? That sound like a plan? Okay.
Sure.
If you
Just-
are following along, I'm only going to do one set, but you actually have 2 sets of them. You're going to have one set in with the tool accessories, and you'll have one set
Right.
in with the craft bench accessories, and they are identical. So you've got
Okay.
this is the Elmer's glue, and then you've got the Aleene's tacky glue.
Oh, okay.
Now, if you look at, oh, that's an old bottle. Okay, so these are the new school glue bottles, but if you Google, and that's why I painted it the way that I did, if you Google an Elmer's glue bottle, the logo tends to look more like this one, the ones before they started putting all the school stuff on them. So that's why I did it this way. I do not have Elmer's written on it at all. Now, the one thing I did do about the Elmer's bottle is I did not paint this white. I left it white the way it is because it almost gives it that fun, funky, clear see-through plastic look that this has. So if I were you, I would not paint that at all, the structure of it, and just paint the cap orange, which we'll do now, and then we'll paint that little logo on there, but I would not paint the bottle. Let's talk about paints for a few minutes. I have different types of paints. Everyone has different types of paints. That's why I tried to be really careful and not give you specific colors, and just tried to have you choose what you have in your selection. Now, on the Elmer's bottle, I found that it was really fun to use the gloss enamels because then you don't really need to coat anything, and it almost gave it a bit of a glossy label look. So I have a glossy enamel, and the bright orange was a really good one to use for that. And also I have, but this is folk art, this is deco art. I have a cobalt hue, which is a gloss acrylic paint as well. Now the enamels are glossy, if you're not familiar with that. The enamels automatically is glossy. You can get a whole line of the gloss ones in the folk art that say gloss acrylic paint that don't say enamels. There's so many different types of paint, it can drive you crazy. The biggest thing is use paints that you like the colors and you like the feel of them. If you have paints that you really, really hate, there's a line of paint that I don't know if you guys can get them up there. It's called Anita's. And I love the colors in it, but I hate the paint. You have to use so many coats of that paint to get anything covered. It drives me nuts, but sometimes I will suffer through it because I like the colors. And then sometimes I'm thinking, this is stupid. I'm going to find a different color in a different brand. One brand that is definitely my favorite are those Ceram coats. I do love them, but I love the folk arts too. And the folk arts are really good about having the glossies. The other thing that I love in the folk arts is all of the metallics. They have a stunning selection of metallic paints. So like when I paint my little tea sets and things that I want shiny to look more glossy, like porcelain and stuff, the metallics are really nice for that. And you can get a whole line of those in the folk art. What type of paints do you guys easily get up there?
Delta.
Well, yeah, we do
Delta?
have the folk
Okay.
art at Michael's, and we have the craft. I think
Craft
seen that one.
Smart. Craft
Yeah.
Smart.
You can get the ceramic wood as well.
Okay. Craft Smart, have you guys tried those? I have not, because usually I'm really, really annoyed with the Michael's brand because it doesn't work the way that I think it should. Has anyone tried the Craft Smart?
No.
Okay. So I don't know. I've had really bad luck buying some Craft Smart things, and then other things have been fine, like the pasta rollers that you use for clay. I have bought those in Craft Smart because I haven't had a choice, and they've been great. But then there's been other things like a poly blade that's a metal poly blade that I've bought that within a month they have gotten all rusty. So it could be that it just depends on what you're actually after.
Could it
But
be
I
what you depend? Could it be something that you clean it with that makes it rust? Because usually clay doesn't make metal rust.
Nope. Actually, it rusted in the package before I even got it open.
Also oxidize it. Like, it's just really bad metal then.
Yeah, it was terrible metal, and it was fine when I bought it on the shelf, and then I brought it home, and a month later I went to open it, and it was
Yeah.
totally rusted.
Yeah,
And it's like,
sometimes
whoa,
you can
that
even
was,
get earrings that are like that, like, really
yep.
bad material. Yeah.
And it's like, whoop, that was not stainless steel.
Hmm.
So even though it was advertised. So this orange that I'm using is the glossy one. And it's nice because it's automatically shiny. Remember, we're not going to paint the white on this at all. We're going to leave it the way it is. And you kind of have to draw just with your hands. Now, when I'm painting, you guys can see how my hands are on, it looks like they're sitting on the work surface because they really are. When you
Mhm.
paint something this tiny, you need to be really careful to have something that you're leaning against that you are supporting your wrist on, and it will help immensely in the painting process. Or even when you're like, if you're decorating cakes or cupcakes, anything like that, that you need to be steady, it's all in supporting your wrists and supporting your hands. So I have a hand here, the wrist is supported on the table, but also I've got the back of my fingers sitting on the tabletop, and I'm taking my pinky, setting it on top of my hand, and using that to support my right hand
Oh,
while I
cool.
paint. So
Yeah.
you have to think about the support, especially because I've had people say, oh, I shake so bad and I wiggle and I can't be straight and steady. And don't get frustrated with yourself. Just look at how you're set up and look and see if you're supporting your hands or your wrists. And that can make all the difference in the world.
Sometimes when we put it, when we make these mistakes, is because we want it closer to our eyes because it's so small. But I
Yep.
guess the key is to wear, I don't know, like the thick glasses or whatever it takes to
The
see it
ones that
better.
have the magnifiers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, that can help. And
Ruth,
I'm really bad. I kind of hunch a little. Yep, go ahead. Who was that
Carol
had a
here.
question? Okay.
Could you talk a little bit about what kind of brush you're using and what sizes and so on?
Sure. Okay, so brushes are the bane of my existence because I absolutely love them, and I try to find tons of them that I can use and in classes and stuff. And it's so funny, every single brand has a different size, which drives me batty, but it's the way it is. So here's a selection of my brushes right now. Let me find a teeny tiny one. So if I were to pull out like this fine detail work, you're going to want to go super tiny. And one of the brushes I have is this one here. It's a Winsor & Newton. It is a 0000. This is the tiniest one that Winsor & Newton offers, and it's a round. Most of the ones that I use are either pointers or rounds when I'm doing fine detail painting. In different brands, the tiniest ones sometimes are 20/0. Some of the smallest ones in other brands are 000, but I've even had other brands that say 04 that are the tiniest ones that they offer. So it's difficult to tell you exactly what size unless I know what brand you're using. But as a rule of thumb, the round is what you want to stick with if you need a tiny little pointy end. And that is good to know because sometimes, you have your flat ones, you have your ones that are shaped and rounded towards the top, but are not just pointy. This one is an Artist Loft one. This is one of my junky ones, but I love it because I don't have to worry if I get it all crapped up and terrible, but it's one of the cheap ones from Michaels, and it's a number 2. And I do a lot of painting with number 2s, and this is my other favorite size, and it's a number 2, but look at the difference. So this is Craft Smart. These are both
Mhm.
made by Michaels. Both these brands, Artist Loft and Craft Smart, is both Michaels, but look, they're both number 2s, and this one is twice as big. So it's terrible. It's just, it drives me nuts, but you really just have to get something you like. These pointers, these tiny ones, you do have to buy them separately in the fine detail painting section where the artistry paints are. You can't usually find these over in the craft paints.
Well, this is why you have to buy them in person. Buying them online is just not accurate, right?
You can buy them online. You just have to do a lot of research.
Yeah.
This one I did get online, this Winsor Newton. I got it from dickblick.com.
Okay.
But I will tell you, I ordered 3 different paintbrushes before I realized this was the tiniest one. So it's not that easy to do. It's so ridiculous how hard it is, but they don't make it that simple. Now, if you do go in person, just go to the specialty ones. You're going to pay anywhere from probably $4.50 to $6 for one of these, but it is well worth it.
Mm.
And then they'll last for a long time if you take care of them. I'm not one of those people that have paintbrushes for 20 years and that's the only thing that I'll use and I take such good care of it. No, I really do like a good new paintbrush every now and then. And then when my other one gets a little ratty, I'm okay with that. I downgrade it to something else. So I'm not one of the painters that has to have perfect brushes. Now I do have my favorites once in a while and I do get disappointed when they do go bad, but sometimes they just do. I don't think there's a way to keep them perfect for a very long period of time unless they are probably worth a whole lot more money than I want to pay. So I'd rather pay $5, $6 for a brush and then get something I can replace and have fun getting a brand new brush every once in a while than pay $30 for a brush that I'm probably going to ruin anyway.
Yeah.
Now,
So
one thing
sometimes
about
no, sorry, I just wanted to say sometimes I've actually cut brushes into the shape I wanted them.
yeah, I
Yeah.
have done that too. Yep.
Mhm.
If I have, say I have one that is pointy at the end here like this, and I need it flat and straight across, I'll trim it and
Yeah,
cut
exactly.
it. Mhm.
And Joanne actually had a good tip for us to clean our brushes. Was it not the Murphy oil soap, Joanne?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's something
That,
that coats it with some, it's like it coats it with
Mhm.
some, moisture so that it doesn't dry out the brush, in other words.
Yep.
Yeah,
And the
it was
other
good.
thing I was going to tell you is when you have brushes that say I use this brush and then I forget to clean it, or I have a brush that I have cleaned and I didn't do a very good job. And you know how sometimes brushes tend to get a whole bunch of crap up in here towards the top and they get stiffer and stiffer and stiffer?
Hmm.
You can use alcohol to get that totally cleaned out.
Ooh,
Same alcohol that you use for your alcohol inks to clean those brushes.
Yeah,
It
just house
works
alcohol.
beautifully.
You can
Yes,
just
then
use the house
it
alcohol, right?
needs to be 91%
Oh,
isopropyl.
91%.
Yeah,
Okay.
not the ones that say 70 or 80. Usually you need 91.
Oh, okay. So not the ones at the dollar store.
No, probably not. I don't believe you can get 91 at the dollar store, but you could at a
No.
Walgreens or any pharmacy store.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thanks.
But if you take alcohol and you take that brush and you dip it in there and dip it in there and dip it in there, or say you used even Yes glue on something and forgot to clean it and it's
Yeah.
hard, use the alcohol. It will reconstitute your brushes. I'm not kidding. It is the coolest thing.
Thank you so much.
Yep. And then you can use that Murphy's oil to make them nice and supple and get some moisture back in them because now it's weird. It doesn't look like it dries them out, but it probably, if you had natural hair ones, it probably would.
Yeah,
The
it's because
synthetic ones
it's
may
made
not.
out of something that I don't know what is. Do they use animal hair to make it? Because it's like
They can. Mm-hmm.
because nylon would not need it, of course, right?
No, I think, but you still may need to clean nylon with that.
Yeah.
But I don't think the moisturizers would do one thing or another to
No.
nylon, really. I think it's more the natural hair brushes. Now, the other thing when you're painting, and I learned this from Robin Betterly because she is an artist and I've been around her enough and asked different tips. When you start painting something, no matter what brush you have, you are always better off what's called pre-treating your brush, and that is just dipping it in water. That is it. And then from there, you take it and you just dab it off on a Kleenex. I always have a Kleenex with me when I paint. But if you pre-treat your brush and then you dip it in your paint, and pre-treating is just dipping it in water, dip it in your paint's going to flow beautifully over what you're painting. If you
Wow.
don't do it and you take a dry brush and dip it in your paint, it'll paint on, and it's interesting, you should try it just to see how it works, but it'll paint on a lot stiffer and you'll see more bristle strokes, I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's not as
So
smooth.
it is not as smooth. No. You know, it would depend. I suppose if you grabbed a whole ton of paint, maybe it would look just as smooth, but it is going to react differently if you pre-treat your brush and get a little bit of water on there. It's a really neat thing to remember. That is a really nice tip.
We love tips. Thank you, Ruth.
Yep. And the other thing that when you're working with on these 3D things that are white, it's perfect that it's already white. But when you're working with, say you have a piece of wood and you want this house to be pink, a nice, beautiful, bright pink. If you took this wood and you painted pink directly on it, your pink is going to look a little dingy, even if you paint 3 coats of paint. If you took this piece of wood and you paint it with white first, even 1 coat of white, and then you paint your pink over it, it is a huge difference.
Wow.
Wow.
You don't need to do that with dark colors, but with light colors that you want to stand out and be beautiful and bright because they're pastels, you need to make sure your base coat is white, no matter what you're working on. So in this instance, we're starting with white, so it isn't important to do that. If you were going to paint these little bottles and they were, say, they're done in the gray resin that we have, then you would want to paint them white and then do your base coat. It's very interesting how just doing the simple thing of painting white will make things so much brighter. And it really works.
Sorry, Ruth, I know I'm speaking a lot, but I hope I'm collecting tips for the whole group. I remember Tina once told us that when you do the, you know, the people that make those tiny little figures for war, you know, the war things.
The Warhammer stuff?
Yes. And then like she said that you get a completely different finish if you paint it all black first and then put the colors on. The colors will pop better.
Yep, they can. But the Warcraft stuff, I got a lot of paint on this, so I'm dumping some back in my jar. The Warcraft stuff, a lot of that is painted a lot darker, the tabletop gaming. So yep, that's absolutely true. And it really, sometime just out of curiosity, you guys should experiment. Take a couple pieces of wood, paint one black, see what it does when you paint something over that, and then paint one, and your colors are going to come out a lot darker, and then paint one white, and then leave one natural and see what you come up with, because it really does change things. It's amazing. Okay, on these little glue bottles, I am working my way, I'm using pastel colors. This is what I said, you can kind of choose whatever you want. I'm going to use pastel colors, and I'm just going to work on painting the little glue bottles. I am not going to paint the tops. I'm even going over with a little bit of the color, which isn't a big deal, but I'm going to come back and paint the tops with white. So I'm
just to
just
make
going
it more solid white.
Yeah, because when you look at all of our paint bottles, because these were designed after
Yeah.
the SRAM coats, they're all white up here.
They're not semi-transparent or whatever.
Nope, I want those nice and white. So I'm just going to come through here and work on, and you might want to do 2 coats of, I would probably recommend 2 coats of paint on these, but you're going to want to let them dry in between. But you'll get a little better coverage if you do 2 coats. When I paint, I like to paint thin. Sometimes you do much better if you do a nice thin coat. It dries quickly, you can control it, it's nice and smooth, and then come back and do a second coat instead of glopping it on and doing a thick coat. And especially those of you that are doing 1/4 inch, you really got to go nice and thin or you'll cover up the detail.
Oh yeah, it makes a huge difference. But do you store your paints up, standing up, or laying down?
I actually I have mine sideways. And now they're on my work table all the time. And when they are, they're upright. And it's really not one way or the other that I prefer. It's just I have, we built what is called our paint bot. So we have a paint robot that is a series of crates that we have stuck. Are you guys familiar with those racks that you used to be able to buy all the time and put towels in and clothes, and everyone had them in the room in the 80s, and they fit together, and there's wire rack shelf system?
Mm, I
and they
think
have little squares in them. And they're all usually white or black. Well, if you take those and you tip them, it gives little diamond shapes to every single section, and they perfectly fit a paint bottle. And I've had a set of those since I was probably 10 years old, and I've hauled them around my whole life, and I hate them as shelves. They're terrible. They're very difficult to get together, very difficult to get apart, but I've never had the heart to throw them out. And when we built the paint bot, which, like I said, is a series of like the crates you can buy in Michael's that you can have the little slats on the side, the little handles, and they sell them for like $10. We just bought several of those, stacked them up, screwed them together, and on the sides where they're flat, we put these wire racks and put little spacers, and that's what I store all my paint in.
then
and
you can't
then-
see all the colors, can you?
You can. Yeah. Yep. There's enough space. You can see all the colors. And
Okay.
then for most of my paints, I actually write the number on or the name of it on top.
Mm.
So you can see the edge of the bottles, the way that I store them sideways.
Oh, I
and
see.
then
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can
of
see all
course.
the names.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's kind of nice. And then, if you store them upside down, that's probably great because then you don't have to worry about trying to get something to come down if it's partially empty. But sideways, yeah, if you use your paints quite a bit, then it probably doesn't matter. If you don't use your paints quite a bit, no matter how you store them, you're still probably going to need to shake them a little.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah,
sometimes
because
the oils. Yep, go
Sorry.
ahead.
If you're doing the quarter scale little tubes of paint, would you thin the paint at all or just get a lot off your brush so that it's not thick when you're painting
Yeah,
like you
I
are?
don't thin it. I would just
Okay.
do real tiny amounts. Yep.
Okay,
So when you grab that paint, just dab a little bit off on your surface and then just start
Right.
with a tiny bit. Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yep. I don't usually thin paints unless they're really, really thick, which most of the Apple Barrel, the Ceram Coat, Folk Art, most of them are pretty good. As long as you try to wipe some of that off your brush before you go to use it, it gives you a nice thin coat inside the brush.
Okay,
So yeah, I probably would not thin it. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of yellow now.
The only thing I
Now-
find annoying with paints is that they always collect paint in the top of the lid.
They do, and I have not figured out a way to fix that, so I just
Yeah.
remove it when it gets bad.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the breaks of dealing with paint, I guess. Craft
Yeah,
paints.
no, I was just wondering if you lay them down all the time, if that keeps it moist, just like a wine bottle with the cork and stuff, but
I don't think so.
mhm.
Honestly, I've had ones sideways, I've had ones upside down, I've had ones flat, and no matter what you do, you're always going to gather some of that. It either pushes up around here or it gets picked up in the lid like this.
Yeah.
Like this was a brand new bottle. I just opened it, poured one tiny dot out, and it's still got some around there.
Yeah.
So I honestly don't have any idea if there's a way to get rid of that, and I highly doubt it. I
Oh
think
well.
it's just one of those necessary evils, I guess. So I'm going to paint my mug blue on this one because in the photo I have a green one, but I like this blue. And this mug, you can paint any color you want. You could even keep it the white if you want. Maybe you guys have a little logo for your club that you can make into a little decal and put the little club logo on there. You've got lots of fun options.
Ruth, are you still painting with the gloss paint?
No, I moved to acrylic paints. The only thing I used
Okay.
the gloss on was this bottle, the glue bottle.
Okay.
And I'm going to come back and add a second coat, but you can even see how
Y-
glossy
Yeah,
it is.
we can see how shiny it is. Yeah.
Yeah, so I only used it on that.
Okay.
These little glue bottles, even though they could look glossy, I thought they looked fine in the matte colors.
Yeah.
I didn't
Okay.
really think it was necessary.
Paints
Now
come
you-
in all colors, so who cares?
Yeah, and you really could if you wanted to. But when
Yeah.
you look at like the Delta ones, these labels even that are printed on, actually, they're stuck on. I thought they were printed. I think that is a sticker. They actually look opaque. They don't look glossy.
Mhm.
My light right now is making it look glossy, but when you're looking at it, they do look opaque.
Mhm.
So I actually thought it was okay to just make them look opaque.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And when you guys are using your paints, there really is no right or wrong paint to use. I always put recommendations in my stuff, but I never ever want anyone to think that their paint is a wrong paint. Now, there are certain things that I highly recommend because I find certain things are made easier by what I recommend, but it does not mean you have to do it that way. Absolutely not. And I think sometimes there's a really strong need to feel like you've got to use what everyone else is using and what you experiment with isn't right, but that is not true. There are so many different reasons to use different paints. And if you have just opaque stuff that is just the craft paints, you don't have any glossy paints, that's okay. That label does not have to look glossy, but if you wanted it to, after you painted it with an opaque color, you could use just some gloss varnish and just dab it right over the top of that and you get the same thing. It's an
Mhm.
extra step, but it's a way to do it without having to go out and buy more paints.
Yeah.
So absolutely don't stress about needing to go buy more paints and have all these selections if you really don't want them. Now, if you're like me and you really want every single color available, then do it.
I
Because
think you can even use a little toothpick, right, from the nail polish to just do that
Mhm.
the tiny little, because
Yeah.
your brushes, you don't really want to use them for nail polish.
Yep. If you wanted to use like on the 1/4 inch ones, yeah, you could absolutely use nail polish if you had some fun colors that you like. Okay, let's see. I want to do, maybe I'll do an orange in that. That might be cute. Because I have one more bottle. I want a different color. Yep, that looks great.
Ruth, on the little 1/4 scale things, if you don't have gloss paint, could you put a little tiny bit of the nail polish, clear nail polish?
Yes, absolutely.
Just for that
And
little
honestly,
tiny bit.
yeah, and you're talking about the Elmer's glue bottle, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That is so freaking tiny and 1/4 inch.
Well, I know, and
think I don't
I'm
even think you need it.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna go buy some gloss paint for
It's so tiny.
that.
Yeah, I don't even think you need the fingernail polish on it if you don't want to use it. I really don't think you'd hardly even notice the difference because it
Oh.
is tiny.
I'm afraid
Now,
of dropping it.
yeah, yep, I wouldn't worry about it. I'm going to let these dry for a little bit and we're going to move on to some tools and then we'll come back and put another coat on them. I am going to put 2 coats of my colors on before I do the lids to these bottles. Because when I go back and do the lids, I want to be able to do those and know that I've got all my color done. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go back and redo them if you get a little sloppy and get a little bit on your white lid. So I'm going to definitely put 2 coats of paint on those before we move back to the lids. I'm going to let the mug dry and then I'll come back and do another coat on the mug. Now I need, Mimi, honey, can you grab me copper paint over there? Thank you. I'm going to have my husband grabbed me copper. That's the one thing I forgot. So I had you get, did I tell you to get a dark purple?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Can you grab me a dark purple too, please? The copper is for the Aleene's bottle. So if you look here at this bottle, see how
Okay.
this is all coppery color? So
Mhm.
this other, this bottle here that is next to your Elmer's bottle is supposed to be this one. But it
Okay.
was the older lid, not the new fancy cap lid. So it's the one that's just got the little, the cute little tops that everyone uses for cups, because if don't throw those away, you can actually take them off and use them for a cup later. But it's this copper color that I was trying to strive for. So if you have an Aleene's bottle at your house and you want to see what you want to mix, match it to, it's this copper. And then I just kind of did a little slash across the top. The older bottles just had a little swoosh towards the top of the bottle. It would actually be turned around this way because this would be the top. So a little swish up here of purple, the purple that matches this, and that's all I did for that little bottle of glue.
I have a
Thanks.
question, Ruth. So if you only have like, a good golden, it's not really bad, this one. If you have just a golden one, can you not just
Purple.
add a little bit of black to it?
To try to make copper?
Yeah.
I don't think that would make copper.
I have
Um,
actually mixed something for like a Santa that I had to repair, and I'll
Did
try
it-
it out and see what comes. But you
Yeah,
know,
try it. You might need to add a little gold or a little orange to get more of the copper color.
yeah, I'll try out
Yeah,
whatever.
or a little red, I mean. Did I say gold?
Yeah,
I meant a little red or a little orange.
Yeah.
I think the gold is a good base, but I still think you're going to need a little bit of, either red or brown, something. I'm not sure the black would quite do it. I think it would get it a little darker than you want.
yeah, maybe.
Because
Yeah.
you see how kind of coppery that is. But I think
Yeah.
if you took gold and maybe added a little, maybe sienna, a little brown, or a little, maybe a little orange. I've never
Mhm.
tried to make copper, to be honest. I've always just used the pre-done one.
Yeah.
Because again, we're back to me really liking paints.
And finding the right gold paints to really look gold is really, really difficult. Like,
Yeah, we have a Ceram coat that does like a Kim Gold, which isn't bad, but I will show you what my absolute favorite is in just a second here. Now I'm going to do everything on this bottle except the lid is going to be white, this top section on the Aleene's bottle. I'm going to need to definitely give this another coat of paint, but that swoosh that I'll do in a little bit, I do really like the metallic. And again, this is a deco art. I'm not sure what happened here, but this is purple deco art metallics. And since the copper is metallic, I liked keeping the little purple swoosh metallic, but we'll need to put another coat of paint on that before we add that swooshy. So to answer your question about and I was actually going to get into the silver side of it because we're going to start on the tools here in a little bit, but I actually use for my gold, this liquid leaf. It's made by Plaid and they still make this one and they make brass. They used to make silver and they discontinued silver, which made me really upset. And then I found
yeah,
this one. So this one is Brush and Leaf brand. Now the Plaid, if you guys remember, Plaid is the one that makes, I believe, folk art. See here, you've got Plaid.
Yeah.
That's the folk art brand. And they also make this liquid leaf. Now, if you can't find it up there, I sell it on the website. This stuff is the coolest stuff. It is alcohol based. So just like the alcohol inks, you need alcohol to clean up and it's going to air dry very quickly. It stinks a little bit because it's alcohol based and you cannot, you wouldn't want to, you can paint stuff over it. And I've done that in the past. You want to shake them really, really good. And you definitely want to clean up the brushes on those because the brushes will get really hard and they don't really reconstitute like the alcohol ink ones do. So when I'm going to shake this off screen so you guys don't have to look at my thing fading in and out for trying to focus. But this is the silver one we're going to use today. We're not going to use the gold one, but at least you can see what you can buy. These alcohol inks are awesome because, or I'm sorry, the liquid leaves, they wick on like butter. They are so cool and they look like that metal look that you try to get without having any sort of brush strokes. So that's why I absolutely love these. You want to shake it really, really good. I usually shake for about a minute or so just to make sure it's really, really mixed up. The little tip I'm going to give you about these bottles, because if you open these up and you use them all the time and you have this ring of liquid at the top here, don't touch the lid, it's fine. But if you actually take a Kleenex and you just wipe that off, it will make it so much easier in the future when you screw that lid on to get it off again. If you don't and you leave that builds up and eventually you're going to need pliers to get your lid off.
wow. Okay.
What I do, so I clean that off a little bit and we're going to paint, and this is where I told you to have the silver paint or the silver liquid leaf. We're going to paint our tools. I'm going to pull these out. Some of them I'm going to show you, we want to trim just this one little tiny support off this clamp here. This is the 1 inch again. Now, Those of you doing 1/4 inch, you've got the paper ones like we talked about. You just take and trim that one support off, and then you don't have to worry about that. The rest of this can be left on here to paint, which will make it much, much easier on you. Now we paint these tools in gray resin, so it makes painting them silver quite a bit easier. You can use any of your paint brushes with this silver liquid leaf, with the gold liquid leaf. I'm not picky about what paintbrush goes with what, as long as it's well cleaned. And you're going to clean it up with that alcohol when you're done. Now, when you're using these and you're using the alcohol inks, do not pre-treat them in water.
Okay.
That does not work on these.
Yeah.
That's only on your water-based paints. So
And
all you need to do.
also with oil, it would be the same, right?
Yeah. All you're going to do is dip it, and then look at how beautiful it goes on. And the thing I love about this stuff is it does not cover up the detail. You can get it on so thin. You see, if I'm working on the calipers first, and you see how all those tiny little dots, you can see them.
Wow.
And it just does a stunning job to make it look like metal. And then when we trim these off, we can touch up certain little touch-up points, but it makes it look like metal, and it is shiny, it's beautiful, and the gold and the brass do the same thing.
You don't even have to treat with gloss.
Nope, it's automatically shiny, and see how beautiful that is
Yeah.
compared to the gray next to it.
Yeah.
Now on those clamps, you can paint these in the silver here. And I think in the photo, they might be painted gray. I don't know. I think some of them I painted gray, because sometimes when you go and buy clamps, this part here is actually painted. I don't know why they do that, but they do that sometimes. It'll be sometimes red, and it'll eventually wear off the clamp. But I'm going to paint mine to make it look like it's just metal. And that's what this silver will do. And I'm just going to be careful. I'm going to take my time. And it's the same way on the 1/4 inch. So the parts that I'm painting silver on here, you would do the same thing on the 1/4 inch. And on this one, we can probably trim off this little part here that you would push, the clamp up by turning it. We can trim off with the flush cutters. Oh, and I broke that. Okay, if you break it, one thing you should know is that you can glue it back on with a little bit of like Loctite glue. So I should have probably trimmed the middle first, and then it probably would not have broken. And if you break it off all the way, just get a little creative. It's okay. Just use that part where you can't see it. So put your clamp and position it so you can't see that little spot. And that'll be okay. Because I can glue it on, like I said, with the Loctite, but I'm not going to do it now because it'll take a little bit of time. So I'll just leave it the way it is for now. And once in a while, 3D can be a little more fragile, especially the 1/4 inch stuff. That's why we did do those in the cardstock paper. So if in the future you have 3D that you're trimming and you break, if you have resin, you can easily reattach it with resin and harden it. I didn't know if you knew that, Tina. But for those of you that don't necessarily have access to resin, you can use the super glue to get it back together. And I don't know if a lot of you use a lot of super glue to try to fix things with, but if you do, one little trick, if you don't know, that you can do is you can use super glue in conjunction with tacky glue, which sometimes creates even a better, tighter bond that works very quickly. But when you do that, and I do that in a lot of my classes for certain things, when you do that, you want to be careful to use tacky glue on one side of something, and then either put your little dot of Loctite on top of that, or put the Loctite on the other side. So when you join them together, they'll harden pretty fast. So you cannot take those two glues and mix them. It won't work. You have to
Okay.
just do one on one side, one on the other, stick them together, and then they should harden fairly quickly. Now, if they don't, you can add a little more glue of one of the styles, usually a little more tacky, and that might be the key, but you can't sit there and mix them. It will literally harden within about 4 or 5 seconds. So, but it is a really, really nice thing to know to try to get things to stick really quickly. So say you're working on a house and you're just frustrated, you can't get a wall to stick, and you using tacky glue, or you can't get something to stick down, just use a little dot of Loctite. And you guys know what I'm saying when I say Loctite? Let me grab a bottle.
So how about I like Weld Bond actually better than the super.
It'll work with Weld Bond too.
Yeah.
So Weld Bond is what you're using instead of Aleene's.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it much better.
Yep. So as soon as I'm done with this paint, because I don't like keeping this too long without keep going on the brush because it does dry really quickly, I want to talk to you about that Loctite because Dan and I figured out a really, really cool thing about it.
That's the
And
little bottle at the end, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
I was
That's
just
the
thinking that.
Loctite bottle.
Okay.
Yep. You are right. Absolutely. And in 1/4 inch, it is so tiny. So you may not want to do as much detail painting on the 1/4 inch one, but I think it'd be really cute if you just did, here's the one I was trying to find that was completely whole. So the sides are blue, just do the cap blue, little streaks on the sides, a little tiny bit in the front, and the rest of it gray. And then I think it would look very close to a glue bottle. And that's why I put this photo in here. That is the Loctite glue bottle.
So
And
just a
it's
question
super
about
glue.
the Loctite. I've seen several different kinds of Loctite. I was looking up like
Oh,
a glue that would glue glass, and
Mhm.
Loctite came up. But then I saw there was like, I don't know if there was 5 or more different kinds. I was so confused.
So the one that I love is this one. This is the blue bottle. This is gel.
Mhm.
There is a red bottle that looks identical to this, but has red sides, red accents, and it is not a gel. So the gel means that when it comes out, see
It's not
that?
liquid. It's not liquid.
It's not, it's a little bit stiff, and I
Yeah.
love it because
Yeah.
I can pick tiny little bits up on my pick tool and it doesn't run all over. It's not nasty. You cannot use it in the paint palettes. It will eat
No.
that.
Yeah.
My
And also,
daughter figured that out.
oh my goodness. But I can see also how fine the tip is on your bottle. Usually they don't have that fine of a tip on these little, super glue bottles.
You know, I don't think that's too big a deal because I never use it out of the bottle hardly ever anyway. Most of the time I squirt it onto a
I
piece of
do.
paper. Yeah. And then I use it off the piece of paper because you don't have to worry about it getting runny. It'll eat through, kind of leak through the paper eventually, but I don't ever put it on my work surface because I don't want to accidentally stick something in it.
Right.
But a lot of times I will just squirt what I need on a little spot where my tacky is and just use it together.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm going to clean this brush so you guys can see how that's done. And then I want to talk to you about those Loctite bottles. So all I do is I take my brush, and this brush has had, or this alcohol has had gold cleaned in it. It's probably had alcohol ink. I just use these little bottles of alcohol until they get pretty gross. And I saved this one for you guys to see. That one's pretty brown. It's got a lot of metallic flakes in it. And what you can do is you can just dump this out and then use a little more alcohol to rinse it out and then just refill it. But I would recommend buying these little bottles. You get these in the section at Michael's where they do the models, like the car paint model stuff. That's where you buy these. And they're usually $1.50. And then you've got a beautiful little jar to put your alcohol in. And it's just a wonderful little way to keep it without having to dump alcohol in something all the time. Because even like these little solo cups, if you dump isopropyl alcohol in them, they sometimes will eat this plastic. So these little bottles are glass and they work great for that. Okay, so the Loctite, let's talk about this. These are, I love them, but I get so frustrated with them because you actually push, if you haven't used these before, you have to screw down the lid to get them to start. That's what punctures it to get it going. You know, like most super glues, you have to somehow puncture. So you
Mhm.
screw them down, which is great. And then you squeeze the sides to get the glue out. The thing is, when you squeeze the sides, eventually it's going to stop and you can't get any more glue out. Well, what Dan figured out, my husband, is you can take a pair of pliers, and if you take and you bend this bottom and you pop that out, it is amazing. If you squeeze out as much as you can and then you pop that sucker out, you can stick your fingers in here and you've got a bottle of glue in there that is still over half full.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
Isn't
Oh,
that horrible? They make
Yeah.
it so you cannot use it up. So I pop every bottom off now, and
Mhm.
then you can easily get your fingers in there and you can just squeeze from both sides and you can use up all that glue.
Wow.
very good.
So it is
Brilliant.
the coolest little hack that you can get way more glue out of your glue bottles because of that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it is amazing. I threw them out for years.
So much
And I
waste,
knew
right?
there was more. Yeah, I knew there was more glue in there. I just knew it.
Yeah. I
And then
know.
Dan's like, wonder if we could pop these out. Sure enough, there they are.
Yeah.
And they were over half full. So that is a fun little tip that you can get a lot more out of your glue bottle.
Thank you.
Now, I don't know if it works on other styles, but the Loctite, it's very easy to pop those out.
Hmm.
Okay, I want to talk about the
Yeah,
clamps.
I just did it.
Did you do it?
Yeah, it just pops right out, and you're right. There's a little,
Yeah,
I'll be
there's a
darned.
lot more glue in there, isn't
and
there?
I have very weak hands, so if I can pull it out.
Uh-huh.
And what
Yep.
surprised me is it all came out in one piece. I thought you had to
Yep.
take the side pieces off.
Nope. So what you do is you go and pull on that bottom and you just push these in a tiny bit and the whole thing pops out. It's one entire complete piece.
Perfect.
And you
That
can get
looks
a
like
lot.
something that you should be able to use somewhere if you were doing a model of, I don't know, the Starship
Maybe.
Enterprise or something.
There you go. Yeah. But that was a fun little hack. Every time I teach a class now, I'm like, don't throw your Loctite bottles out. You can
Mm.
reuse those, get more glue out of them for a while yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
So I'm going to talk about the clamps.
I think in Canada,
Yeah.
this is a LePage. It looks, the brand name is LePage, which is the
Okay.
same as the Loctite. The packaging
Oh.
is identical, but it's by LePage.
So they're just
not-
rebranding it for Canada.
No, I don't know which came first, LePage or Loctite. But yeah,
Who
anyways,
knows?
it's the same thing.
Is it the Henkel Corporation on the back?
Yes.
Same
Henkel
company.
Canada. Henkel Canada, Mississauga,
Okay,
Ontario.
So this
and it's
says Rocky
LePage.
Hill, Connecticut.
Yeah. So Tina, is yours the same exact same bottle type?
Yes, it's exactly the same. But if you're going to buy here, you're going to buy LePage.
Tina, why don't you pin yourself for a minute and show them? That's awesome. So it's just neat, called something different up there.
Yeah. Okay. Can you see that?
Nope,
Mm-mm.
we can't see you.
You're not
Okay,
pinned.
now try it again, Tina. Just
there
pin
you go.
yourself now.
I did. I
Oh,
thought
Oh,
I
there we
did.
go. Yep.
Just hold it up.
Okay,
Just hold it up.
you can see
Uh,
it's exactly the same as
okay.
Ruth's, but it says LePage. And on the back here, just like she said, it says Henkel Corporation, only it's an address in Mississauga instead of in the US.
Oh,
Same
right.
thing.
I've
LePage.
got the
That's-
same one. It's the
That's
same.
probably okay. Yep.
It's
That's
LePage.
probably the Canadian distributor then.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Cool.
awesome. Oh, we learned something new every day.
Yeah.
See? I knew you guys could get it. Okay. So now that we've determined what it's called up there, we can move on. That's awesome. I'm glad you tried it, Tina. Okay, on the clamps. Now the clamps can be painted any sort of colors you want. If you think about it, in my mind, the most common popular clamps are the red handled ones, but I've seen them in black and orange and blue and whatever you want. Now, I have not been able to get this paint for ages. This was a deco art and it was a metal paint and it was made for metal minis. And I think I must have gotten it way, way back when I started miniatures. Oh, probably 16 years ago now. and I absolutely love it. And I covet all the little bit that I have left, but it is the perfect stuff for the clamps. So I don't know if you guys have access to some kind of metal paints up there, and what this, it almost looks like when it's done, is it looks like it's a rubberized paint. You know how the clamps look like they're coated in rubber and dipped, and I think most of them are. That's what this kind of looks like.
What's the color on it? What does it say that it's called?
It's called Deep Red.
Oh, deep red. Okay.
And yep, and it says rouge and fonts. So I'm thinking that's French for rouge,
Yeah.
probably.
Red.
Rouge foncé, dark red.
Oh, this is interesting, guys. I don't know how the heck I got this. This is Deco Art in the UK.
Ha.
Huh. I never bought this in the UK. I wonder if this was imported. Maybe that's why I haven't been able to find it forever.
That will explain it.
That could explain it. I've never noticed that before, but now we're looking at labels tonight. Okay, so what I would do if you really do want to try to find something like this is I would still probably go to the model car section and see, because they could have, they have the paints, the tester stuff that works really, really good on the plastics, and they could have a selection of metal ones there. This is not necessary by any means, but if you really do like the idea of trying to get something that looks a little more rubberized, then you could check that section. Now, if you're not using something like this, because probably most of you do not have that, you can do like a maroon or a dark red. Here's a tomato spice. And also, like I said, any kind of blue that you like. If you have some of the glossy enamels, those would work fine too, because those would look a little glossy and a little bit more of a rubber, a glossy rubber when you're done. It is completely up to you. If you have a different type of ceram coat or a folk art that is just the opaque color, you can also add a gloss to it later. You could do a satin varnish. Probably I would go with something that maybe has a little shine to it. So either a satin or a gloss, but you can add that on after the paint is dried. I think before we start on the clamps, I am going to give a second coat real quick to these little
Yeah,
paint
before they
bottles.
dry out.
Yeah, because I've got all these nice little paints out here. So I'll do that. So if you're following along, go ahead and do that, and we'll get a second coat on. I found that the little paint bottles did really, really well with 2 coats. So I think if you look at it and you're like, it still went too thin, I need another coat, or maybe the paint you're using is not covering as well, then go ahead and add a 3rd coat.
We might even be able to, you know, make little tiny labels to put on.
Yes, you absolutely could. Or you know what else would be really, really cute? And I did this on the 1/4 inch ones.
Mm-hmm.
You know how some of the glue brands have the dot of color on top?
Mm,
That's
yeah.
really cute.
Yes, it
And
is.
I've done that to some of them. So if you do that, if you have not ever practiced with a lot of dots, this is the fabulous way to do them, is you have a ball stylus.
Oh,
Oh, cool.
You can dip it
well,
in
that's a good
paint
idea.
and watch this. Perfect
There
little
you go.
dot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. yeah.
So these little ball styluses are how you make beautiful little dots.
And
You
they
know,
stay in place.
They do. Yep. Now, usually what I do is I'll dip and do 1 dot and dip again. I almost dip for every dot because you want a nice fresh dot, but every 3 or 4 dots, I wipe it off and start over, because you'll get buildup, because that tiny, tiny little bit of paint will dry fairly quickly. So I would just either 1 or 2 dots per dip, or 1 dot per dip, and then every 3 or 4, just wipe it off and start over. But these ball styluses are fantastic to do little dots. You know, sometimes you go to a show and you see all the beautiful furniture that's supposed to look like Mary Englebright and have all these beautiful little dots and decorations. That's how they do it. It's all done with ball styluses.
Wow.
And here you thought it was all miraculous. They could
Well,
get
that's
those
why we
all
love
looking the
tools so
same.
much, because tools really make many jobs much easier,
It
right?
does, yeah. And the other thing, I don't know if you guys do a lot of flowers. The ball styluses are brilliant for
Yeah.
flowers.
Absolutely.
So if you take a piece of paper, and I do it in my finger a lot of times, but if you have a petal and you indent it with their ball stylus, that's how they get those little paper petals to be beautifully rounded. Now, most times people will have like a piece of neoprene or a little mat, and what you do is you put all those petals on it and you push down
Right.
into the neoprene, and that rounds it as well, and you get that concave pretty look. And like the little, let me show you. A lot of what I work with, I don't work with paper flowers so much because I use a lot of clay, but I do a lot of leaves, paper leaves. And you see how these are concave? That's all done with a bigger ball stylus.
Yeah.
All of it. So I take a bigger ball stylus and I just roll it in the palm of my hand and I make those little leaves concave. And you paint them and everything first, and then you use the ball stylus. So those little styluses are great for so many different things. Use them for paper flowers, for paper leaves. You can use them even in clay decorating. I use them to actually make petals on certain flowers in miniature that I'm doing out of clay as well. So not only paper, you can use them for clay. And then, like I said, it's dots. It's so perfect for dots.
Yeah.
And if you can't find a set of those, I also sell those on the website. There's a set of 5 that I sell for $6. So if you do ever need them and you place another order, and I don't know, you know, if you want to do this all the time, but if you guys do want to place club orders periodically, that worked pretty awesome. And that saved you guys so much shipping.
Yeah.
Tina, did you get that pretty quickly within a week? The order?
Yeah, it arrived pretty fast.
Good.
And
It
I'm just trying to remember. I don't think we even got hit with customs on it.
Well, see, I kind of cheat that a little bit, and I usually put that it's like $30 worth of stuff. And I usually put that it's a gift. Because I did not put the actual price that was on that.
Thank you.
Because, you know, I have a hard time doing that.
Yeah,
I'm terrible, but I don't feel like it's my problem to worry about collecting stuff like that.
We're always
for
paying so much
customs.
taxes on everything, like our.
I know.
Well, the thing is to remail everything from here. About half the people in the club just dropped by and picked it up.
Okay.
And the other half were mailed to people who couldn't get out for one reason or another.
So can I ask, on average, how much did it cost you to mail everything just per package?
Per package, most of them were $1.94.
Oh my God. Okay. So for me, I cannot mail anything cheaper up to Canada. If it's over 8 ounces, it instantly jumps to $22.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I thought it was $14. Is that not?
It is 14 under 8 ounces, but all I charge you guys is 14. But a lot of times when the Canadians place orders, it instantly will jump up to $22 and I pay the difference. Because anything over 8 ounces is when I get hit. It jumps it up a whole bracket, and it's about $8 more for anything above 8 ounces for me to ship.
Oh.
Yeah, for us, the break even, it's 100 grams.
Wow.
When it shifts, and most of the packages were under the under the 100 grams. There were a couple of people who bought a lot of extra stuff from you, and the most expensive package I mailed was $26 or $22.
Okay, was that
but
to
that
Lucille?
was just one, and then there was a couple around 10, couple around 3, and the rest were all $1.94. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, see, that was so much cheaper. And then to mail it to you guys, I think it wasn't it $40 for everything in that box, UPS? Somewhere around 40, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, that would have been the amount of 3 orders if I'd have mailed them all separately.
Wow.
So that's just something to think about. I sure don't mind doing it if you guys want to do it that way once a year or whenever you want to do it.
Ruth, I'm curious about the mailing thing. If you send a normal letter from United States to Canada, though, it's not the same price, right? It's like
So
You can
a
send it for a letter less than $14, I
Yeah.
hope.
Oh, yeah. So a letter, if it's in a regular envelope, and I'm working on the red on my clamps now, if you're following along. So a regular letter is going to be about, I think it's about $2.20.
Wow.
Or no, I want to say $1 and maybe $1.30 to mail a letter. That's what we would pay for our equivalent of a 50-cent stamp. I think to go over, they consider it overseas. So to go overseas would be $1.20, I think, minimum for 1 ounce. And then this is the interesting thing, and this was changed very recently, and it drives me crazy. And that's part of the problem I'm running into with the Canadian orders and everywhere. I can no longer, I used to be able to ship to Canada and it would go straight to the Canadian border and go through customs. It's not doing that anymore. Anytime I mail anything to Canada or overseas, it goes to California, to San Diego, sits there for 2 or 3 weeks in customs there. Then it goes all the way back up to Canada. And I literally can drive it to you guys quicker than it gets down to California.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been driving me crazy, but there's nothing I can do. And the weird thing is for a while, I used to be able to ship out flat rate envelopes to Canada for about $8.40. And I noticed though, if I shipped a flat rate, it would go down to California and sit in that customs thing. But the boxes that were in the packages never did. But they started it about 6 months ago. Same thing. Now everything goes down through San Diego. It does not matter what I package. It doesn't matter what, whether I put a flat rate envelope like a bubble mailer, or if I put that it's a box. It all goes down to San Diego. And I feel really bad, but that's when I figured out, Tina, the only way I can get stuff up there in a timely manner is to do UPS. And if I do it UPS, I know that in the past, you guys have had issues with them socking you with fees. But when I did a class a couple years ago, I had a bunch of Canadians join the class and I shipped all of their stuff UPS and I did it gift and no one complained about having any fees. So I think that's working. And it gets up there in about a week. It's crazy. So it's our side in the US postal system that is causing all the problems. Because I used to be able to, even if it went up to the border and sat there in customs up there, it would still get to you guys in about 10 days to 2 weeks, even through mail. But yeah, and the crazy thing is,
to be way faster now for us to mail things to the US.
Is it?
Yeah, I can mail things and it'll get down to the US in under a week, just regular mail. So you might be right. Maybe it is the US postal system who decided to become, and I'm quoting here, efficient.
Oh, no, it has nothing to do with efficiency. The guy that is in charge, I know, yeah. But the guy that is in charge right now, they're trying to oust him. He openly said he is going to destroy the US postal system.
Oh, wow.
Doesn't he own it? Doesn't he have an interest in?
He does. He has a competitor. Yep.
Who is this guy
actually,
again?
I do not know his name, but he has a competitor mailing system it's probably like something to do with FedEx or DHL or something.
His name is Louis DeJoy.
Okay, it's what, honey, logistics?
Louis DeJoy.
XPO. Okay, he owns XPO Logistics and they do contract work for FedEx.
Yeah, Louis DeJoy.
Yep. Yeah, that's what one of the ladies found.
Wow.
Dan was telling me. So anyway, Biden is trying to get him removed, but they had to get someone else in to be able to vote him off the board to remove him from that position. And the hopes is once he is, then our postal system can get back on track. But all of this started way back when we had the election for Biden. He actively was for Trump, and what he did is he tore down a lot of he went into the postal systems in the big distribution areas like California, New York, and he tore down a bunch of the machines and took them down and told them to disassemble them because he didn't want the ballots that were coming in through the mail to be delivered.
Remember
And
that.
the
Yeah.
problem was they never put them back. And that is
Okay.
where it keeps cascading and we can't catch up. If he would have done that and gotten his way and trying not to deliver that, but put them back, we maybe could have kept up with the delivery issues, but they haven't been able to still.
Excuse me, but are you actually saying that this could be the reason why Biden won instead of Trump?
No.
No, he was against Biden. He was against
No.
Biden.
Actually, the
Hmm.
ballots that were found later that were not delivered, most of them were for Biden.
Oh,
So
okay.
he still would have won anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just because of COVID, everyone was mailing them in.
Mhm.
And there was
Yeah.
a lot of belief that most of those people were voting for Biden. So there was a lot of people actively trying to not let those ballots get through. I think the majority of them did get through. It
Mhm.
just was close.
Mm.
And they found some, but I think there was a lot of areas where the postmasters were still just delivering them no matter what.
Wow.
But I mean, it was terrible. We had a lot of crap going on down here. People were setting up fake mail distributions to put your ballots in and then taking them and destroying them. I mean, it was a mess.
Oh my gosh.
It was pretty bad.
A
So,
lot of
and
corruption.
yeah, it's too bad. And so the mail system just needs to get back to the way it was, and we need to get cheaper prices again because it is outrageous.
It is. But
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, if I send a card to my mom in Italy or someone I know in Denmark, I mean, sometimes it takes up to 6 weeks. Like, I mean, and the last time it took only 3 weeks. I don't know what's going on, but usually I have to do like a month and a half at least in advance in order for them to get it
Yep.
on their particular date.
Yep.
It's crazy.
And how much does it cost you though? Are you guys pretty subsidized
Oh,
still?
no, not very much. Like, I mean, depending on, okay,
Oh.
so if it's a thick package with weight in it, like, I mean, I can pay 20 something dollars. Otherwise it's like $2-3 for a
Okay.
normal envelope. Yeah.
So you're
Under
still
under
pretty
50.
good rates.
Yeah, under 50 grams.
The Canadian system, Ruth, it's a separate corporation. It's not subsidized by tax dollars. It's got
Okay.
to run on its own.
Now, like in England, it is very subsidized, and I know their stuff is pretty reasonable, excuse me, there. And I know places like China, they have like almost no shipping costs. That's why they can ship everything over here for free.
And yet sometimes they charge a lot of money. Like, this
I
is what I
know.
don't get.
It's
I
all
know
profit.
like, you know, when you buy something on AliExpress, something that you know will not tip the scale on the weight thing. Oh, you have to pay as much shipping if you buy 2 or 3. And sometimes if you buy one more, it tips like $5 more instead of just like the one more, added shipping cost.
It
It's
sounds
crazy.
like though you're noticing that. So if you're really careful, sometimes if you order 2 or 3 at a time, it'll have the free shipping. But if you add the 4th or the 5th, then the shipping costs get added. It's
Yeah,
really
sometimes that
weird.
too. Yeah, it's
But
so
I
much.
do know for a fact their shipping is very subsidized, and that is why they can ship so cheaply.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I think if they do charge shipping, that's probably money that they're just getting a little bit more for profit.
Yeah, I'm also wondering, like, not to get it political or anything, but I'm wondering now if China goes together with Russia, if we place orders in China from China, if they're going to be blocked because they say that they will censor the shipping from China if, you know.
I don't know. I know here we're trying to be very careful not to get involved because if we do,
Right.
Russia has bombs,
That's
and
right.
Montana we're full of missile silos. This would be one of the places they would try to hit too. I think
Ruth,
everyone is
take
being real
heart.
careful.
Ruth, take heart in the fact that if they aim at you and miss, they're going to hit us because we're
That
in Russia.
I don't take any heart in that fact. No.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you for the
Yeah. Yeah, no, I want us all to be safe. We do not want
yes,
that.
please.
Yeah,
Yes,
no,
please.
I do not take heart in that, but I do know what you mean. Yeah, we're pretty close here. So I know I keep talking. I usually don't look at any of that stuff because it drives me crazy. And I just tell Dan every night to just give me a couple quick highlights and he'll watch the news a little bit more.
Yeah, I do the same, Ruth. I
Yeah.
hate watching the news.
It just gets
Just give
depressing.
me the highlights. I just leave the room.
I know. It's like, that's why I spend my time on the computer on Zoom.
I have to take care of
It's
my
less
mental
depressing.
health. Yeah, mental health
Okay,
first.
I have the little decal here, And while we were chatting, I went ahead and cut it out. Now I cut the decal out on the paper. There's little dotted lines around it. Just cut those little dotted lines out. It is on this little backer paper. And what you have to do, decals are really fun if you've never used them before. I know when I was born in the 80s, my mom used to cover everything in decals, from everything from baby furniture to dressers, and decals were everywhere. And it's really fun to kind of go back to my childhood a little bit and use decals once in a while. And I was kind of scared of them when I started using them because I never used them as a kid. My mom always did them, but they're actually really easy. You would just cut out whatever you want, shape you want. You always have to cut it out first. You can't do it after you soak it. And then you take a little bit of water and you just set it in there. And what you're trying to do is just soften the paper on the back enough to slide the decal off. That's all you need to do. It doesn't need to be in there a very, very long time. If it is in there too long, sometimes what happens is the paper will kind of move away and then you have a really difficult time getting the decal out without messing it up. Usually, as my rule of thumb, it's about 20 seconds. And then I take it out. It does not hurt if you want to just dab it off on paper. Those of you doing the 1/4 inch, be real careful because it is really tiny.
Oh, yeah.
And if for some reason you lose it and you need another one and you place an order, just let me know. I'll gladly send you another one. But you kind of catch the end of it and you just lift it off of that decal paper. Now, if it does not come off easily, you need to stop and re-soak it a little bit more. But it should lift pretty easily.
Okay.
And then you just take it. Now, are these coming off clear, guys? Should be white. Does anyone else see if it's, is it clear?
Yeah.
Huh, I might have used the wrong decal paper.
Oh.
So this should be on white. Is everyone getting clear?
I haven't tried mine.
You may not want to put that decal on yet.
Okay. So, yeah, it's hard to tell because the wider the paper on the background is wide.
Clear.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we were doing them on white, but we did one batch that was clear, and I bet they got mixed in there.
What
See,
about
I've got
if we put a little bit of paint, white paint at the back, and just glue it on? What do you think?
Well, my recommendation is if you want, let that piece of paper dry out that it came on. And then if you just put it back on that and then glue that on, that would work. That would be your, it's going to look almost, that it would be almost identical to the decal you would get. It would just be a tiny bit thicker. If you don't want to do that, I can just send some decals to Tina and she can, next time you guys, if you're together at some point, she can send them out. I'm so sorry. I thought I grabbed the white ones.
I can understand why you didn't notice that.
Yeah, you can't tell until you peel it off. But you see how it shows up much better this way?
Yeah.
So I would almost recommend, if you guys are okay with it, if you soaked it, then let that backer paper dry, glue it back on there with just some little bit of glue. If you have not soaked it, maybe just take the whole piece and just take your pick tool. And if you just run it over that, it'll soften the paper on the back a little bit and then just glue it directly on. And it won't be too thick. It'll stand off a little bit, but a lot of labels do. But that would be the easy way to solve that. And I do apologize. I will fix that. And
it's
make
fixable,
sure the rest
I
of
think.
them. Yeah. And the nice thing is if you use the paper it came on, it's already cut to size. But you'll get a better result this way, I think, than painting it, Teresa.
Well, this is great that you're making all the mistakes instead of us so that we can do it right.
I know.
I like that. Thank you.
I could be embarrassed about it, but I'm just going to decide not to.
We're just
it is what it is.
Thank you.
It is what it is. Okay. If we have the clear decals, which I have a feeling you all have clear decals.
Don't try it. Just cut it out and glue it on.
Yep. Just don't soak it. But in the future, if you do soak the decals like you should be able to, then they just slide off really easy, 20 second soak, and then you're good to go. Okay, on your little, we painted silver on your little tiny tape measure. You could take the little tongue that comes out and you'll barely see that in 1/4 inch. You can see it a lot better in 1 inch. you could take and paint the edge of that yellow or orange or black or even gray. And the same with the little clip here. Any color you want to give that a little accent is really cute. And
What
just
is that thing
choose-
again? I'm sorry, I'm looking at the.
That's on the tape measure.
Oh, the other one. Hold on a sec. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, the tape measure. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So the tape measure is going to have a clip on one side and a little tiny tongue that sticks out. That's the bit that pulls out. And then the back will be totally clear. There'll be nothing engraved on the back.
We can
So in
just
the
pull one
quarter
up on
scale-
Google and see.
What was that?
In the quarter scale one, is it attached to the little gray? In the kit, there's two
No.
things on it.
So the quarter inch one
Where-
is actually 3D printed, and it'll be 3D printed with the glue bottle. And it'll be in the
Okay,
baggie.
yeah.
It's not in this baggie, it's in the big baggie. It'll be in this section.
Okay, and it's kind of attached to, it's.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
It is actually 3D printed. The only
Okay.
ones that you need to worry about that are the paper, I put them in this baggie so you didn't lose them, because this tiny little strip is your ruler. It's so
Okay, yeah.
teeny, but it is your ruler. And it's
Okay.
printed on paper and laser cut out as well, but it's got the little lines on it for the ruler.
My
Yep. And
goodness,
then
what
you
kind-
should
What
have
kind
the
of
glue
printer?
bottle.
What kind of printer do you have that can print such small print? It's unbelievable.
We use the Form printers, the Form 2s and 3s. We've been with the company since the beginning. We actually backed them on Kickstarter, and we absolutely love them. They're
Okay.
and they're a resin-based printer.
Oh no,
And the
no.
ru-
Sorry, I that's not what I meant. I meant the paper part. You painted that. You printed that on.
Oh, on this tiny ruler.
Yeah,
Um,
because I find that
I
to get
think
really
it's a
detailed-
Canon. Yeah, I think it's a Canon. I'm not 100% positive, but I think it is a Canon.
And it's a laser print, or is it inkjet?
I'd have to ask Dan.
Well, you can get back to us on that. It's just because
Yeah.
sometimes we do need very, very fine details. I have one of those
have-
printers with the refillable ink, and it's really good
Yep.
for many things. But we're talking about quarter scale here, and we have many quarter scale members, right?
Yep. We have actually one of each. I just don't remember which one's which. So we have an ink one, we have the laser one, we have one of all of them. And then
I
I've
see.
got two different ones I use to just print directions, and those drive me crazy because it's the printers. It's the bane of my existence. I hate them.
You have a
So
whole
I
room
usually
full
let
of-
Dan try to figure it out. I'm like,
Mhm.
honey, just get me something that works, please.
Yeah.
And you never know. It's
Mhm.
like we printed labels the other day.
Mhm.
One label came out with the red accents it was supposed to. We
Mhm.
printed the same identical label literally 2 days later, and it came out orange. It's like, and the inks are fine. Those aren't ink. Those would probably be laser. But it was the weirdest thing, and we still can't figure out why it did it. It's
Mhm.
like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And of course, things can change depending on your paper.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big thing. If you don't know a lot about laser printers and the papers that you have to use with them, and if you use the wrong paper, it'll never come out looking good. It'll bleed all
Really?
over. And yep, when you have a laser printer, you need laser printer paper to run through it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the same with the ink. So it's, because the way that the ink tends to bleed or sit on top will determine the paper.
This
as
is really
well.
helpful. Thank you so much. Sorry about all the questions.
No, it's fine.
Ruth, this question may have been asked before, but I had to leave and go get some paint.
Sure, Margaret, go ahead.
End of the tools,
Mhm.
there is sort of a flat thing. Is that the tweezers?
Okay, yep. Let me talk about that. So that's on the 1/4 inch one. On the 1 inch one, it's next to your clamp on the 1/4 inch, right?
Okay.
Yep.
So
And I'll show you.
bend them in
I'll-
the middle.
Yeah, that's all you have to do. It's so
Okay.
cute and it's really easy. So you would just take, because here's the 1 inch version of it. So
Right.
just take and trim it off. And I usually use the scissors on the paper stuff. And you would take, and if you can get it picked up, just bend it in the middle.
Oh, there's your.
And you see the little tweezers.
Oh, those are cute. Okay.
Yep. And they're curved at the end, kind of like the pair I'm using. We modeled them after
Oh,
this
wow.
pair.
Yeah.
What a-
So yeah, they're really cute. They're just little tiny tweezers.
That's
And then
brilliant.
on your, I'll demo the scissors here for you because we haven't gone over that yet. And some of these things we may not finish up the finishing touches, but you guys get the idea and
Yeah,
you can
we do.
finish up some of the little touches on your own. Now, the scissors are really fun and I love doing scissors. I don't actually do the 1-inch ones and sell them separate, but I do the 1/4 inch all the time. And all I do for the scissors is they come on these little supports here. So you've got something to kind of grab, and it's on the 1/4 inch ones. Yours is going to come on the long sprue, and just leave them on there. Use a real fine brush. Again, we want to condition the brush by dipping it in water first. That's really important on this because the 1/4 inch, the brush, you put such a tiny amount on, it gets really dry. You take and just use your black paint and you just paint the handles on these. And you can go down as far as you want, but I usually go to about the edge here, just below where the circle is that goes around the handle, where your finger's for, and then go to the edge, even on the same side here. And I always take my brush and I run it around a ring in the middle, in the inside, because that, if you hold it at an angle, you'll see that that does not have paint in it and still looks silver. So you want to do the top, run around the inside edge. Again, do the same thing on the outside with your paintbrush. Make sure you cover that edge. And by doing this, it actually will build up the paint on the handle a little bit and make it look a little more realistic, like you've got your rubber covered handles or your plastic covered handles that have been dipped, which is how a lot of scissors are made. And then you turn it over and go down about the same distance as you did on the front side, as far as where your black paint ends. And I usually do not do 2 coats on these, unless, more than anything, I do touch up. I don't do 2 coats. So if I let them dry and I go back and I look in the light and see, oh, I forgot that edge or this edge. Honestly, once it's on your little work surface in miniature, you're never going to see it, but I kind of am picky anyway, and I do it. And then I always take my paintbrush and I add just a teeny little dot right at the bottom for the pin or the screw, and it really finishes it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then I do that on both sides. Don't forget. Now, when you laser cut, you're going to notice that one side always is a little bit darker than the other side. That's the laser burn. It happens on paper. So on this, you can tell one side has a little bit darker edge, and then you turn it over and it's nice and bright and silver. You can determine and choose which side you want to be exposed when you use it in your scene. Most of the time, it doesn't matter too much. On the 1/4 inch, sometimes you can get a little more burns. You may just want to flip it over and pick that nice shiny side, but it is up to you. And you will notice a little bit of a difference. So that's how easy those are.
I just want to say, if any of you have a pair of metal scissors, I do. That's also something I never thought about, actually painting the handle part of it to make it look more authentic. That's really cool.
Yeah, it does. And I do have, now, in the defense of these, if you want to leave them silver, you could. I've got a pair of just plain silver ones that I love. But in miniature, this adds those little details that just makes it pop. Yeah. So it really shows up nicely in miniature. Okay, do we have any other questions on any little bits and pieces? The little ruler in here as well, in the 1 inch, is perfectly ready to go. You don't need to do anything. That is totally ready. The same with the 1/4 inch one. Any questions on anything that we went over?
I wanted to, Ruth, I just wanted to comment on the tool that you were using to glue things with originally.
Oh, the pick tool?
Is that a dental tool?
Actually, it looks like a dental tool. It acts like a dental tool, but it is a cheap version of a dental tool.
Okay.
It's not an expensive one. And I actually sell these on my website for $2.
Oh, okay.
I Love them. I found a good supplier for them, and I include them in almost all of my cake kits with my classes. I give them out to anyone that I can find that wants them with their kids because they are awesome. And there's actually 5 different styles. This one is the one I call 60 degrees. This is a straight one, and these are awesome to clean out glue bottles. And
Mhm.
this one, and there's 2 that have a slight curve. One circles around, and then one has a little bit of a bit of more of a curve to it. And then there's another one that's a complete 45-degree angle, so it goes straight across.
Mhm.
This one and the 45-degree angle one I do not have on the website, but if you want either one of those and you order the other set of 3, and you want to substitute something, just let me know. I don't
Okay.
mind. It's
Well, I
just
could-
this one and the 45-degree I use in all the other kits, so I don't usually offer those online.
Right.
Just
But it
feel like
would-
you did give us one of those with our kit last time you were doing a workshop for us. I was just
Mhm.
looking through my kits, but I can't find it.
Yep.
and I just thought it was such a perfect thing for very small scale for gluing, just as you were doing
It
with the little dot
is.
to glue it. That's
And
better than a toothpick, you know.
yep.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
see, the
Clean
problem
it
with a
off, no.
toothpick, and this is why I hate toothpicks for this, and I love
Right.
this thing, you can clean that off. I clean
Yeah.
it off all the time. I
Mhm.
use it with the Loctite. It doesn't hurt it. And when you go to clean the Loctite glue off of it, you just scrape it with the X-Acto, and it
And you
gets
can
it
reuse it.
Yep,
Mhm.
pops it right off. The
Mhm.
problem with toothpicks, and some people swear by them, but the problem is I find there's so much buildup. And the
Mhm.
second it dries, you've got buildup, and you can't necessarily get it off the end of the toothpick anywhere near as easily.
Yeah.
And then you do have to throw it out eventually. These pick tools I've been using for probably 15 years.
Yeah.
I love
Oh,
them,
yeah.
and I
Yeah,
don't
yes.
have enough of them.
Yeah,
I
like
have
the
one
way
at
it works.
every single station in my shop.
Yeah, I like the way it
So
worked. Thank you very much.
And I
yeah.
just wanted to say
Mhm.
that Barbara, she was selling these ones at one point. Like these are little plastic rings that you can put a little dot of glue or paint or whatever in it.
Oh, cute. And then keep it on your hand.
Yeah, you just put it on your finger and then you just,
Yeah,
it's like handy and it's easy to clean.
that's adorable. Yep.
Mm.
And I know a lot of people use like the golf tees to use as a surface to put something down on to be able to paint really easily. I use a lot of glue tops. You saw me peel tape off of one earlier. I have a double-sided sticky masking tape that I love, and I stick it to all my glue tops and then the glue bottles. And then from there, I can easily turn them as I paint. So Joanne, if you do 1/4 inch all the time, that is a must. It is absolutely fabulous to do that. And you
Good
can,
idea.
yeah, just be creative. You can use even the top of these little tester bottles as a surface to stick something down. When you're working in that tiny a scale, and even with, say you had the gin bottle and it fell off the sprue and you want to paint it and you don't want to touch it, just use double-sided sticky on the bottom. Make sure it's sanded so it's nice and flat, stick it down, and you can easily glue something, paint something. Let me show you the tape that I normally use for the masking. Now, I honestly do not know where I got this, and I do not know if it is a carpet masking tape, but it is strong. And there's certain things you cannot use on it. You cannot use paper things because it'll tear it. Some 1/4 inch things, if you're really nervous about it breaking, it may not be a good idea. But this stuff is called Sure Tape. It is made in the USA here, and you can get it at suretape.com, and it is fabulous. All you do is you peel a little bit off, you just tear it, and then I stick it down to my surface, and then you peel the portion off the top, because it's not like the double-sided sticky Scotch tape that unrolls and it's sticky. It has a coating on the top. So you can peel that little piece of paper off. It's like wax paper. And then it is super sticky and ready to stick down whatever you're working on. And I do love that because I know you could use wax. Some people have the museum putties. I don't care for those personally because sometimes you got to work kind of hard to get them off the bottom. And then if they don't stick real well, then they can fall off. Now, you can have things fall off with the tape. Don't get me wrong. but this stuff is pretty strong and I absolutely love it. And I've actually been working on this roll for probably 7 years. Now, one thing I did notice, if I have not used it in a really long time, this outside ring sometimes will lose its sticky. So I'm thinking the light getting to it maybe is what does it. And it's only if I don't use it for maybe 2 months or something. Now, if I use it, you know, every week I peel some off, it seems to not lose that. But if I do go a few months, I will notice that it's just this outside piece. So if I were to peel this off, this won't be as sticky, but the underside will be super, super sticky. So I'm pretty sure it's got something to do with the light hitting it. And I do have it by a window that I store it kind of on a wall by a window. So it may get a little more light than I anticipated, but I do love the stuff. And I do think it's probably a friend of mine gave it to me and she has no idea where she got it. And it could be some kind of carpet tape. I don't know. So be thinking about that up there. Maybe sometime if you are interested in trying that double-sided stuff, try getting like a carpet tape and see if that would be similar. And it will work as long as you're not breaking stuff that you're trying to take off of it. You know, a lot of the 1-inch stuff is fantastic to set on there, even if you're setting pieces of wood things that you're working on painting. Now, super thin stuff, this might be a little too delicate to try to peel off, but anything like if I have these little shoes in 1/4 inch and I don't want to touch them and I don't want to use the supports, I just stick the supports on there. And then I've got this whole nice surface that I can turn and not touch and worry about dropping. And then when I go to get it off of there, you can either just trim it directly off the supports with flush cutters, or if you're really careful and you're a little bit patient, you can just pop it off with a blade. And it usually just comes right off. If you can get something under it to pry, then it will pop off. So,
Ruth,
and go ahead.
One of the things that I use is, I don't know if you can see that. That's just a piece of dowel.
You can't see it, no.
Do you want to pin yourself, Tina? So are you putting it on the edge of the dowel?
Yeah, you see at the I
Oh,
yeah.
That's a great idea.
And then this is just a piece of ticky tacky.
Okay.
Show us again, Tina, excuse me.
So it's just at the end of a dowel.
It's just the end of a dowel.
Hold it up, Tina.
At Michael's.
There you go.
At Michael's, you can buy little bobbin type things. I don't know. I just glued a whole bunch of them to a piece of wood, and then
that's cute.
And so I've got a whole bunch of them that I can just have things sitting and waiting for.
And that's what I usually do with my clay. I have a crappy little hunk of clay that I shove stuff in that I need to dry.
But Tina, can you put it? What do you do to put it away to dry? Do you put it in a cup then, or?
No, I stick them into those little.
So she's putting them inside the spool, Teresa, the dowel, to let them dry in the air.
Oh, can I? What dowels? Sure.
These things.
Okay.
You buy these in the little wood section.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
You have to put that in a pencil sharpener, sharpen the end, and then they just fit in. And you can get these in different sizes. This happens to be a small one.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And your idea of the dowel, Tina, that's the same sort of thing that a lot of people use with the golf tees. The little pin that you stick in the ground to put the golf ball on.
Yeah.
I've gotten those at a lot of shows. People give them as a fun little table favor, and they really do work really nice. I honestly don't use them, but I have seen people use them, and it is pretty brilliant. I just never think to use them because I use the top of the glue bottles.
A great idea.
So.
Why not use what you have handy, right?
Lucy Hanson used to give us would be a tongue depressor that she had put double-sided tape on. Yep. And that worked just great. And then you could set it over there anywhere. You could set it over a coffee cup or over, any other surface. Yep. And for 1/4 scale, it was perfect.
And then when you're also, if you're like spray painting, the tape I was showing you guys, drawing a blank here. Thank you. The double-sided, I usually put that on like a strip of scrap wood and then I'll go out and I'll hold it, spray, and be able to turn as I go to spray certain things.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to do it. Now I have a friend that has a little flat plastic thing that's got little nubbins on it, and it holds up what she's spraying. But the disadvantage of that is you can only do one or two sides, and then you've got to let it dry and then you flip it. But one cool thing about it is that it doesn't stick ever, because it's only held up a couple tiny little pins. And it's like just these little nubs on this flat, it's called a paint board. And I don't know where she got it. She got it at a show years and years ago. But it's kind of interesting. So there's, lots of different ways. If you have a nice surface that you can stick it down and you don't need to worry about finishing the bottom, I just use a stick. Like I said, just a piece of scrap basswood from laser cutting, put that strip on it, and I just line the stuff up and then go outside and I just turn as I go, and I can get all the different angles. So there's lots of little tips and tricks. And miniatures, that is the one thing that, I know there's some miniaturists out there that are very quiet, stay to themselves, but it's a disadvantage in some ways, because you miss out on the certain things that you learn from other people. And I'm fairly new to miniatures compared to a lot of even you guys. And I have not been around as long working on them. And I am learning so many things, and I find it really fascinating. And I love teaching for that very reason, because I learn a lot from you guys. And it's really fun to be able to go to the next class and pass that on and talk to them about what I learned. And they, the next class will give me more tips, and it's really fun to do that and pass that knowledge. Yep.
One more question, Ruth. I noticed you didn't wash the 3D things at all before. It's not necessary?
No, it is not on this.
Okay.
Now, there are some 3D that you do have to do that. Do not assume if you don't with mine that you don't need to on anything else. It really does depend on the medium that's used.
Okay.
Some of the ABS plastic stuff, which is string plastic, it's with a thin string. That stuff you will never, ever get as fine a detail as you can with a resin printer, and you have to do a lot more sanding. But usually people that print with that can offer stuff way cheaper, because it is a fraction of the cost for that plastic versus the resin. The resin, we end up paying over $200, I think, for a liter of it. It's very expensive. But the cool thing with the resin is you don't have the lines and bumps and things you get with the ABS plastic string printers, and you don't have any cleanup. So the cleanup is all done when the resin comes out of the 3D printers. It goes into an alcohol bath, and that gets all the excess resin off that is not hardened by the lasers, because the 3D beds, they have a laser that goes across the bed and hardens it as it builds millions and millions of times before it gets done. But it always has a coat of resin on the outside. So you have to soak that away. And then once you do that, the pieces come out looking like this, except they look wet. You have to let them dry, and they air dry, but they're not cured per se. They are hard, but there's still a little bit of flexibility in them. And then to cure them fully, you have to either put them out in sunlight, or you have to put them in under a UV light, which has the same as sunlight. But
Ruth?
depending on the printer, yep, go ahead.
I was just going to say, have you, my son talked me into switching to water-based resins. No, not water-based. They're water
cleanup. Yeah.
So it really does. He's done both, and he says it really makes it so much easier, because then when you take them out, you just run them under a tap. So you don't have to dip them in alcohol to get that layer of resin off, and you can just run them under a tap.
So what printer are you using?
It's an Elegoo Mars.
Elegoo Mars. Not heard of that. The resin must be a little different though, to be able to clean up with water.
Oh, it is. It's specifically
it must be a water-based
water
resin. Interesting.
Not water-based. Anyway, I buy it on Amazon, and it's nowhere near as expensive as that stuff you're talking about.
Yeah.
But the printer that you use may not be able to handle it. I don't know.
Our printers wouldn't. we have to run this certain resin through, and the only cleanup, you can get another solution, but it is a thicker consistency, and I'm not sure exactly what, thank you, Barb. Barb said she had to go, so I want to say bye, Barb. It's, I forget what Dan said it was, but it's another, some kind of liquid you can clean with, but it definitely is not water.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we have, at this point, Tina, we're running 5 printers, so we're not going to be switching to a new brand anytime soon.
Yeah.
We have too much invested in what we have at the moment.
Well,
It's just a shame that you can't make your own resin, you know what I mean? Like,
no, it's definitely a different class of chemicals mixture. I would not want to attempt it.
mhm.
You might want to contact the people that you say you got it off at the printers that you use, the resin printers. You might want to check with the owners and see if it will use that water-based.
We can sure ask. Yeah, that's interesting. I
Yeah, I
think
would
you'd
also-
have to change your build beds and stuff because those have the other resins in them. But I wonder if you started with new build beds, if that would work.
Who knows? Anyway.
Yeah, interesting.
Anyway, guys, it's 9:14.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ruth. We love you.
You
yeah,
are
and-
so welcome. I hope everybody had fun, and you guys
Excellent.
know where to find me. If for some reason you have questions, maybe you go back later and look at the video and you were going to ask something you forgot, please let me know.
Mhm.
I will try to answer my emails quickly. They don't always happen quickly, but I do try.
yeah.
Excellent.
Your classes are awesome. Thank you.
Loved it. It
Good.
was so much fun and I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks
Thank you so
Ruth.
much. Yeah,
That was-
you guys
that
have a
was
great
great,
night.
Ruth.
Yeah, you too.
very
Thank
much,
you.
Ruth.
Well,
Bye-bye.
it was my pleasure. I had a lot of fun.
Thank you.
So
So,
Thank you.
Good night.
thank you
Bye.
so
Good
much.
night.
Good
Hey,
night,
good night,
everybody.
everybody.
Good
The
night.
video
Good
will be
night.
up in the next day or two. Okay.
thank you.
Thanks,
Take
Tina.
your time, Tina. Take
Bye.
your time.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tina.
Okay. Thanks, Ruth.